A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. And you switched our screens around a little bit, Sam, which threw me off a little bit. I'm looking over here, and you know my eyes are all messed up to begin with. So you really threw a monkey wrench into that one. But once again, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. You know, we are here to heal our heroes. This is all dedicated to law enforcement and our first responders throughout the nation. I want to begin by sending out our thoughts and prayers to Sheriff Lamb, who tragically just before the Christmas holidays had lost his son and grandson in a horrific car accident. So our hearts and prayers go out to the family and friends of Sheriff Lamb. Horrible accident just before the holidays. I saw him and his wife did a video the other day, standing strong together. They're blessed by God, and they're using their faith to get them through this. And for anybody who is going to attend the funeral, they will be sharing details on the funeral this week on social media to see if anybody wants to attend those services. But once again, our thoughts and prayers to Sheriff Lamb and his family. So welcome, Sam. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. I wrapped up everything last night. And well, I guess today is still the Christmas Day observed.
Oh, so you blew out all your candles, right?
Say that again. What?
You blew out all your Hanukkah candles?
Oh, well, we don't blow them out, but yes, the Hanukkah candles were lit. They burn down, themselves because you don't. That's a whole another show of why you don't blow out.
My Christmas
just don't blow out Sabbath candles.
My Christmas goes to January 6th because my wife goes till Little Christmas, so I can't take down any of these friggin' decorations until January 6th.
Well, it's still a holiday time. We've got the new year coming in. It's the little things that we can grab onto that bring us joy, because it's a little bit of a dark time, John. I got to tell you, since we got back from Chicago just before Thanksgiving, it seemed like we were just on a roller coaster ride. We continue to lose our men and women and the first responder community. As we already know, the suicide rate seems to go up every year at this time, but it still doesn't make it any easier, especially when we know exactly what's going on and we have departments covering it up or blaming it on something else. We even have our own government doing the same thing when it comes to our Border Patrol agents down here on the Texas border. Got to clue some people in. It's not their relationships that are causing them to complete suicide. It's what John talks about almost every single week. It's stuff that we have been through that has compromised our coping abilities, our coping mechanisms.
Yes. Compounded
by the job and what we experience and the traumas and the stresses. And when your coping mechanisms are, not in the right place, bad things can happen. And, we've got a great show tonight because our guest, John, really sheds a lot of light, goes to bat for our men and women in blue. And I mean, even when I say go to bat, they go to court, they file lawsuits. Yeah. They're out there. But I think one of the biggest things, especially going into 2023, when morale's at its lowest, we're going to talk about why that is in a second here. but it's important to have an organization that can educate the police supporters, those folks that have never worn a badge, carried a gun, a hose, whatever you want. They have a heart for service, but they don't know how to serve, if that makes sense. And so we have got Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association, and what they do is help the lay people, help the supporters understand what you and I did, what we've all done. So without further ado, Sergeant Betsy Smith, retired. Welcome to a Badge of Honor podcast powered by the OBBM Network.
Hey, you guys, thanks so much. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Sam, I had a bunch of retired cop friends over on Christmas Eve, and my girlfriend who's Jewish brought a homemade challah bread. Yeah. And so for the first time, we said we're going to do this every year. So for the first time, she said the prayer, we broke the challah bread. I was the woman of the house. I got the first piece. And we passed it around. And of course, we prayed. And then we prayed for our first responders and our military. And it was such a wonderful tradition. We said we're going to incorporate that into our Christmas Eve from here on. So I hope everybody had a terrific holiday.
That is awesome.
You know, Betsy, I'm just going over the National Police Association website, and the work you guys are doing there's a lot of information, and I really suggest that anybody that's out there go to National Police Association .org and look at all the information that's piled into this website, because from news articles to reward programs to grant programs for legal work and more, it's such an informative website, probably way too much to cover in a 1-hour show, but man, you got so much in here. It's fantastic, the work that you guys are doing throughout our nation for our Leos.
Yeah, I tell you what we do, and I really do encourage everybody, go to nationalpolice.org. You know, a lot of people see us, National Police Association, they think we're a union or something. We're not. We're really an association for citizens to better understand this profession, to learn how they can help us. One of the great things that I love that we have is a thank you note program where you can download these thank you notes, take them to your local police department or mail a bunch of them in. I know a lot of people, they do it as a project with their kids or their children's groups like Scouts or whatever. And cops just love that. We have a Thank a Cop billboard program that's really popular around the country. We have a team of attorneys that get involved in different cases. We love to file amicus briefs and FOIA requests in cases where we think either cops got a wrong deal or maybe a law might go to the Supreme Court, a potential law that's really going to make it a problem for law enforcement. We get involved in that. We have a team of writers where there's so much great information about the law enforcement profession and different cases, and we don't pull any punches. And then, of course, 2.5 years ago, they hired me and to go out, and they give me free reign to talk to the media, say what I want to say, talk about American law enforcement and the fact that we're not a bunch of racist thugs, and indeed that we are out there trying to save the lives of the citizens that we all spent so much of our lives, right, trying to protect. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this organization.
We need that voice. We need that voice, and law enforcement across the nation needs that voice. When the voices are being shadowed, when the voices are being stepped on throughout all our media, throughout our news networks, throughout our politicians, either that they're scared to make waves, or they're just in that woke community of defund the police. We need a voice like you and your organization to really speak for our men and women that are putting their lives on the line each and every day.
Well, and I'm so grateful because, because we're not a union, we're not beholden to any political party, to any politician, so we get to go out there and just really tell the truth. And, and one of the things about me is, I'm retired from my police department. I own the training company I work for. So I'm basically uncancelable. It's a nice place to be.
Oh, I like that. Yes. Uncancelable. We are live with the uncancelable Sergeant Betsy Smith retired. Well, Betsy, like you just said, you have the outlet to really be an education piece with the public. But you did serve in the police department. Just tell our listeners and our watchers here live a little bit about how you got where you are.
Well, I became a police dispatcher at age 17 as a senior in high school, went to college, became a police officer at age 21 in the Chicago suburbs. And for 29 years, I had a terrific police career, promoted to sergeant, stayed there. And I just did everything that I really ever wanted to do. Bike patrol, I ran canine, I even ran animal control, did patrol, did detectives, did crime prevention. I had a terrific 29 years and kind of a parallel to that last 20 years I was on the job. I was a writer. I got a job with the Law Enforcement Television Network on video with satellite training, old technology. And then I got hired by policeone.com and officer.com and worked I'm the only woman ever to teach the Caliber Press 3 Survival Seminar. And my husband and I teamed up. He's a guy that a lot of our viewers might know. I am Mrs. J.D. Buck Savage. That's right. That's me. And so Dave Smith, my husband, just an extraordinary trainer and commentator and writer. And so we have just been traveling the world, training cops, and it's a great life. And he's a terrific guy, a terrific mentor.
Well, your career, you heard on the intro, we got back from an interesting time in Chicago. We had a lot of great connections in our workshop that we did up there. And then it seemed like, I don't know, the holiday times hit and a lot of the frustration.
Sorry.
There we go. A lot of the frustration hit. And, our hearts obviously went right back to Chicago. And for you being retired and seeing what's going on, not only in the city that you served, even though it was the outskirts, you're serving the greater Chicago. What do you make of all this, especially in light of the ridiculous laws that are coming out there and a mayor who just doesn't get it?
It's so frustrating. One of the last two classes that I did before the COVID shutdown was at Chicago PD headquarters. And just the men and women of that agency, the energy and the diversity and the dedication was it was one of the best training experiences I've ever had. And unfortunately, as I think a lot of people know, in the last week, we've had 3 Chicago police officers commit suicide. We have Chicago PD has a high suicide rate anyway. And quite frankly, they have a lot of weak leadership, and they have a mayor that is probably, and again, I'm born and raised in Illinois. Our politics are notoriously corrupt. That's been my entire lifetime. But Mayor Lori Lightfoot is probably the most out of touch mayor ever in the city of Chicago. And that is saying something.
Yeah. We are talking with Sergeant Betsy Smith, retired from the National Police Association. We are going to get into how out of touch she is. And we're going to kick stuff off when we come back from our break, talking about this Safety Act that goes into effect on January 1st. So we will be right back, folks. Stay tuned.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, and welcome our guest, Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association, retired out of Chicago, and that's someplace that me and Sam just had the honor of doing some post-traumatic stress classes at. And before we left for break, you talked about the high suicide rate within the Chicago area, and when we had left, just as we left, there were 2 suicides that were never out prior to the last 3 this week, but 2 suicides, and which should really infuriate every officer out there, is that an 18-year veteran died from suicide, and the city blamed it on a drug overdose. Now, if you are in law enforcement, after 18 years on the job, you are not a drug addict. You're not using drugs. It would have come up somewhere in your career that you were doing drugs. Not every police officer takes a gun to his head. Some will take pills. Some will. I mean, there's many different ways that these officers are taking their lives, and because they're not in uniform or they don't do it on police property, they are not marking it down as suicide because they are so afraid of the backlash they're going to get because they are not doing their job. They're putting smoke and mirror together with EPAs and everything else, and they're not working for our law enforcement officers. So every officer out there that's listening should be infuriated about how their commands and their upper staff are treating them in the mental health field.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago PD is kind of its own entity, but the suburbs around Chicago tend to very often mimic what is happening there, and Cook County, Illinois notoriously has a George Soros installed prosecutor that adds to the frustration of what's happening in Illinois. In Chicago, when you do bring a good case, involving gun violence, things like that to the prosecutor's office, you have no idea if it's even going to end up going to trial or is going to be pled down to a nothing misdemeanor. The pre-trial bail reform and all the things that they're already bad enough. But as of January 1st with the Safety Act, we're going to see these pre-trial restrictions. We're going to see no cash bail. There's going to be people right now in jail awaiting trial that are going to have to be released throughout the whole state, not just in Chicago. And there's a whole lot to the Safety Act. We can talk about that. But when you look at Chicago PD, again, what they are dealing with the lousy leadership, along with the extraordinary violent crime, a lack of prosecutorial support, and then the street gangs that run so many neighborhoods of Chicago, it's the perfect storm for horrible mental health issues for those police officers trying to just stem the flow of violent crime in neighborhoods. And let me just say this, in neighborhoods where people want them there. I keep hearing all these pundits say, oh, people are committing violent crime because they're poor. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you're a criminal. Being a criminal is a conscious choice. And there are people in every neighborhood of Chicago, a lot of people who love their law enforcement, love their police officers, are frustrated with what's happening, but they're absolutely helpless at the hands of the street gangs.
Well, the craziest thing that we heard when we were down there, and I know the vehicle pursuit statute came about where they connect, but now when we were down there, they passed a non-foot pursuit. You can't chase somebody on foot. What? Are they?
No, there's basically no reason to stick around if you're a criminal.
Right.
And,
they're holding the handcuffs even tighter on our law enforcement. They can't do their job.
Hey, right. John, don't forget about the trespassing thing also.
Well, that comes up in the Safety Act.
That's in the Safety Act.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, and for folks who aren't familiar with Illinois law, what happened, and it's been almost 2 years, immediately after George Floyd, the Illinois legislature got together and decided we've got to have criminal justice reform, right? Everybody hears that, criminal justice reform. So they did this, basically they did a multi-tiered law where some of it starts January 1st, and then the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And it affects everything. It affects, like we talked about, pretrial detentions. It affects bail. It affects how police officers write their police reports, how they use their body camera footage. I mean, absolutely everything. And it allows for anonymous complaints. This is one of the ones that really has police officers upset. Anybody can make an anonymous complaint, and it's going to go right in, get investigated, go into the officer's file, this and that. It's just police officers are the bad guys now in Illinois, and the criminals and the people have all the power. And it's not. There's huge restrictions to use of force that are going to be a real problem for law enforcement. There's a couple of good things. I do want to say there's a couple of good things. More police training. And so there's going to be more money for police training. But again, it's, certain kinds of police training. Right. And so it's going to make life very difficult for Illinois law enforcement. So what's going to happen? There's going to be more criminals on the street. They're going to have more freedoms. There's going to be more restrictions for police officers. And we train there quite often. That's where I'm from. In fact, I was just there a couple of weeks ago. Every police officer that can leave is leaving. And so we're this huge shortage that we already have of law enforcement officers around the country. Boy, it's going to get bad in Illinois, as bad as it's gotten in Seattle and Portland and other cities around the nation. And it's going to be a problem for the citizens of Illinois.
We were just talking about that prior to you coming on. Like my NYPD class back in 1990, we had 2,100 recruits just in my one academy class. 2,100. Departments are lucky if they can get 300 good individuals to get into an academy class now.
I think 30 is a big number. Certainly, look, any metropolitan city, and people are looking at politics. So if it's a major Democratic city, they are leaving in droves. Remember, New York put like a moratorium on like, hey, nobody else can put in their retirement papers right now. Same thing in Chicago and other big cities. This police shortage that we're going to see in 2023 is unprecedented. That we all know there's a plan behind it. And so what I want to say right off the bat is I just filled out paperwork for somebody who is stepping up to be a police officer. Kudos to those folks out there that are just have the heart for service. They want to serve their communities. They want to make a difference. They're not naive. They know what they're coming up against, but they're like, this is what I have to do. And so thank you. I just want to apologize. We want to say thank you for doing that. We need to reverse this. I can't even think of the word of what you wanted, this polarization. We need to reverse it to where we have so many, and we have dedicated people right now. But when you're forced to work overtime, when you never see your family because you got to do more and more to put food on the table, the stress is unbelievable. We've got the suicides, we've got shootings, we've got the accidents on duty. It's not a mystery that all of this is coming to a head. But if we can get passionate people in the job, don't you think eventually we could start turning a corner, especially if we vote out the people that are creating this problem in the first place?
Well, and let me tell you, I just saw something. We were so heartened. The National Police Association was a sponsor at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Phoenix last week. we had so many people walk up to we had a booth in the vendor hall, and then I did a bunch of media interviews. But at our booth, we had so many young people come up to us and say, I'm studying to be a police officer. Nice. And we were like, what? Wow. I mean, it was just, we hugged every one of these kids. We were giving them Buck Savage t-shirts and challenge coins. And we're just like, holy cow. It was, you guys would have felt so good meeting these young men and women who they're studying, criminal justice and sociology and things like that. And they all said, I want to be a cop. And we're like, wow, and you know what? And it's just what you said, Sam, because Dave and I asked him, it's not the best time right now. What are your thoughts on that? They were all very aware of the situation. And they said, I still want to serve. And we were just so heartened. It was amazing.
And then I wonder if those officers, those new recruits are coming from a police or a law enforcement background from their families.
A lot of them were too. Yeah.
But what's like what you were talking about before, Sam, we have to change the culture. We have to really flip this script, and it's up to the politicians to change the narrative in here, where they have to allow cops to do their job. They have to make the job of law enforcement more appeasable to people. When you see, like what we talked about last week, the 14 DPS officers down at the border who have taken their life, and now they just finally start talking about it. If you saw 14 Wall Street corporate reps commit suicide in the last year, there would be an uprising. It would be an epidemic. It would be on the news. But we're hiding the fact that these men and women are suffering. The news media, and I think it's only Fox News that's really starting to take a bite out of it, but every other news outlet out there is hiding the fact that they're not robots. They're human beings that are out there trying to do their job. And we're just pouring fuel on the fire for a really horrible next few years for our officers.
Well, John, you said it's up to our politicians. I want to say it's up to us. It's up to people like Betsy. It's up to NPA. It's up to the folks that support law enforcement to say enough is enough. We want our police. Not only do we want our police back, we want our cities to be safe again.
And that's what we do is we ask police leaders
right.
to stand up and start talking about these issues, about the how officer shootings are once again off us getting shot. Suicides, 2.5 times or more by our own hand, do we die than by felonious assaults? Police leaders need to get a lot louder and a lot more visible on these issues. It's incredibly frustrating when we see leadership just sort of sit back or maybe do an annual address or whatever. We need the leaders to talk to the politicians and say, look, this is enough. You can't treat my people like this. You can't keep passing laws like this. And we also have to have, like you said, those of us in the profession, those of us who were in the profession, but we also need educators. We need church leaders, and we need citizens who are willing to help us fight that false narrative and understand that and know the facts. And read books and learn about the real causes of crime, and to be able to tell their friends and neighbors that it's not American law enforcement that's the problem. We are not a bunch of racist thugs. We are not out there killing unarmed Black people every day, like some polls will say that people truly believe that.
Yes.
And so we have got to all, as Americans, get a lot louder about supporting American law enforcement. It's not enough just to refund us. I know the defund police movement, they're kind of walking that back, but you can't just walk that back and stay silent. Cops need to be lifted up. The profession needs to be, just what you guys said. It needs to be an admirable, noble, desirable profession again.
But I'm sure you see this more than me and Sam do, because you're on the front lines of this. our leaders, our so-called police chiefs, and it's not the leaders that are running the police departments anymore. It's the politicians, and the leaders are so afraid to speak up because they'll lose their position. They'll be ousted out or replaced by some woke individual that will listen to the politicians. How do we have how we got politicians who've never done a day on the street making choices for our men and women out on the street, and our police leaders are too afraid to stand up and speak out because they will lose what they've worked for.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There are so many police leaders, and it tends to be more the chiefs than it is the sheriffs, because sheriffs they're elected by the people, so they are kind of forced to be able to talk about things, and in a lot of sheriffs departments, those sheriffs are their voters tell them, we want you to uplift your cops, we want you to have more cops, we want more police on the street, things like that. With a lot of police chiefs, I mean, you're absolutely right, where they are hired by mayors or city managers or city councils who are incredibly woke. They're anti-cop, they're pro-criminal, because of criminal justice reform. Those leaders have got to stand up, remember where they came from,
yes,
and talk about what criminal justice reform really means to the citizens of this country. And I think that's where a lot of these leaders could talk about how this vilification of law enforcement, it doesn't just affect us in the profession. Who does it really affect? It affects the citizens, the people we are trying to protect. Why do you think homicide is off the charts? Why do you think carjackings are going crazy? Why do you think high-end retail theft is as high as we've seen it since the 90s? It's because of, yes. And, we call it depolicing, where American law enforcement officers, I mean, this in New York, look at NYPD, when they're told, to, stand down and don't do this and don't do that. What do you do then? After a while, you just start taking reports. You become a fireman, right? And so that becomes what we call depolicing. You add to that things like criminal justice reform, bail, no cash bail, things like that. Then you have de-prosecution. That leads to de-incarceration, which again is what they want. That leads to what? Chaos, societal chaos.
Yep.
And that's why we all have the thin blue line, all three of us behind us. What are we? The thin blue line between our people that we all put our lives on the line to protect, and the chaos that is being not just created, it's being ramped up exponentially.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you are just joining us on the podcast, we are talking to retired Sergeant Betsy Smith, who, along with her husband, run the National Police Association. They are doing phenomenal work. Hey, we got to take a quick break, and we will be right back to continue this very important and very spirited conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our lovely guest Sergeant Betsy Smith with the Police Officers Association. The Police Association.
National Police Association.
I put it there up on the screen for you, John.
No, I'm sorry, because the person who has been texting me about all the suicides in Chicago just text me again, and I'm freaking out. Is that he goes, and I got to bring this up because this it's not police related, but it is fire related. It says, "Hey, I assume you heard about the firefighter from Hearst, which is my hometown, my neighborhood right here. I said, no, what? He goes, well, we lost a firefighter here in the DFW Metroplex just this past 24 hours to suicide. And I get these texts every day, and they're just heartbreaking, because they can be. We can fix this. We can fix this with little work. We just got to let them know that we're there. And it pains me to see this every day.
These are preventable deaths.
Absolutely.
And it's just like we wouldn't let our firefighters go out there without a helmet and their fireproof turnout stuff. We wouldn't let cops go out there without their body armor and their pistol and all their other tools and things. You wouldn't send a fireman without a hose. And yet we talk about all these first responder suicides. Those are preventable deaths that we have yet to get a handle on. And a big part of that, I think, is like we've been talking about, our leadership won't talk about it.
But you know, Betsy, one thing I try to help people understand that, we've got the Back the Blue supporters, and they are the ones doing the writing in campaigns and posting on different social media outlets, praying for our men and women, our first responders, our veterans, our military members every single day. It's not those people that we need to really get through to because they get it, but for the other people, for the lay person, imagine going to work every day, okay, being yelled at by your boss constantly, not having the support when you go to the human resources that you think you should have, or that the human resources says we're here for you, when they're really not. They just tell you, well, do this and go away, get out of my office. Oh, or here, call this number. You call the number, nobody answers. Where at every turn there is a roadblock. Imagine going to work every single day like that.
Yeah.
Now you understand.
Yeah, it's really, really true. And that's one of the things that the National Police Association, we ask people to do, is just things as simple as smiling and walking up to a police officer who's in line for coffee and just saying, thanks for what you do. Waving and smiling at them as they're driving down the street, buy them a cup of coffee, or again, do our thank you notes, help sponsor a billboard that says, thank you, cop, because those kinds of things, as you guys know, can just change your day, your week, your month as a police officer, and perhaps interrupt that feeling of despair that every one of us has felt in thinking, damn, nobody cares about what I do. Because that sense of mission for us in law enforcement is just so important. And when one citizen understands that sense of mission and thanks us, recognizes us, that can it can literally be life-changing.
We have an organization out here, and I don't know if they're nationwide, but I think they'll go nationwide. It's called Spokes for Hope. I don't know if you ever heard of them, Betsy.
Yeah.
They buy bicycles for children in some of the neighborhoods and some of the less fortunate kids, but they don't give them out. They bring those bicycles to the precinct, to the police station, and they give them to the cop to give out. It kind of bridges a gap, and it shows that police officers aren't so bad. It shows the community that, hey, I'm human. I'm thinking about you. I care about you. I'm not only here to, I'm not always here to arrest you or be vilified like that. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
And they do such a wonderful job. We need more organizations to back our blue and help them do their job. And from all around. And that will uplift some of our officers. That will give them the morale, because then they'll see people backing them. They'll see people, okay, you got my back, you got my back, you got my back. You know what? And they can walk away with some sense of, like you said, mission or pride or leave the job going, hey, I accomplished something. I made someone smile today. I didn't just scream at somebody. I made a child smile. I did something.
Yeah.
And those little things make a big difference in any officer's heart. Makes them want to go back to work the next day.
Yeah, oh no, you're absolutely right. I mean, that kind of positive interaction between, especially kids and law enforcement can again truly be life-changing. And one of the other things I think that we're leaving out of this equation is and here we are doing a podcast, is media. The media has jumped on this vilification of law enforcement really since 2014, but of course since the death of George Floyd. They've just ramped it up extraordinarily. And you talked about, Fox News, supporters of law enforcement trying to dig into the police officer deaths. There's Newsmax, there's Real America's Voice. There's a lot of good conservative media out there, alternatives to the mainstream media, if you will, that are starting to really understand not just police officers killed and injured in the line of duty and assaulted, but our suicide situation as well. And so what people need to do is consume the pro-police media, stop turning on the NBCs and the CBS and the, NPR, type stations that hate us, and also make your views known on social media, that you don't want to hear the anti-cop stuff, that you'd like to hear some positive police stuff.
Yeah, and you do a great job, as well as some other organizations, about posting the pro-police, like what good things police officers are doing in the community. Because newsflash, there's a whole bunch of them.
That's mostly what we do.
Exactly. Most people do not see on any given day because they're only running the negative narratives.
Right.
And if people knew, and if people, it's so hard, because if we didn't have a podcast like this, if you didn't have your podcast and other more conservative pro first responder podcasts, if people are not consuming this, it's almost like they're living in some alternate reality. Because if you're waking up every morning, turning on regular radio, or I call it regular TV,
right,
all you're seeing is negative stuff about everything.
Yeah, it's true. And it's depressing.
And it's like, it sets the tone for, if you get pulled over, oh God, I heard about this on the news, and blah, 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 why am I getting pulled? And immediately the camera goes on and you're listening to this tirade of something where it's, get your ticket or get your warning. If you just said, hey, sorry, yeah, I was speeding, which most of the time, hey, get your warning. But because people have it's the narrative, it's just skewed so many to just be argumentative right off the bat. If you just, like John and I say, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Well, now
some perspective.
Everybody wants to challenge officers no matter what they do now. The challenge is on, because of the cell phone, that's looking to get YouTube footage.
Yeah.
They can become their next YouTube star or whatever.
Right.
Like we said, with a basic car stop turns into almost an altercation over a bullshit ticket.
Right.
People are challenging cops now that you can't touch me. Don't come, or they're filming them at the police station. This is the law. Like, they know the laws, and they think they know the laws, but everything's a challenge now. And you brought up, just go up cop and say hello and thank you. Right now, that's the scariest part for a cop, because if you're approaching their car, you know what? There have been too many assassinations. People are pulling out their guns at alarming rate.
Oh yeah,
never seen before. Now a domestic is turning into a shooting. NYPD, 10 or 15 shootings in the last 8 months, 9 months. You've never heard that. People are so taking out their guns and firing at cops all over the nation.
We've had 125 police officers shot in ambush style attacks this year already. I mean, that's extraordinary. Ambush attacks are up, we've had at least 60 police officers murdered by gunfire alone. We've had well over nearly 350 shot in the line of duty. I mean, we haven't seen those numbers since the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at the mental stress, the hypervigilant state that officer is in constantly every single day for a 12-hour shift. You're telling me that doesn't put a mental strain? That doesn't damage your coping mechanism? That doesn't damage your way of human life with your family? That's all comprised of it. And they just think we're robots, or the cops are out there that are robots. They go to job, they forget about everything, they go home. That's not how this works.
Well, and again, that goes back to, you got to look at the media, and, because that's very often how we are portrayed. We're portrayed as either killers or robots or people who don't care about people and this and that. And then there's a lot of cop shows that portray us as, drunks or bad cops or whatever. And again, that continues to wear on, as you guys know, these individual officers. And when you've chosen a life of service, and that's what law enforcement is, just like military and firefighting and EMS services, when you've chosen that life of service and the people that you want to serve are being told that you are something that you're not. I mean, think about this, being lied about every single day in the media and in entertainment and on social media. I hope people listening to this and hearing this and seeing this are understanding how difficult it can be.
Hey, you are listening to Sergeant Betsy Smith, retired from the National Police Association. We are having an in-depth conversation on how to back our first responders, how to back our blue. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
What is the role of American government anyway? Is the role of government to decide where I can go and where I can't? Is the role of government to work tirelessly to destroy vital infrastructure that keeps goods and services from my customers? Is the role of government to choose who can drive, fly, or ride according to mandated stipulations that threaten my body, health, mind, and conscience? Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Your voice, your feet, your vote, not just at the ballot box, but training to be a poll watcher, precinct chair, judge, or early ballot counter, so you're doing all you can to protect the fairly counted American vote. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America, because my voice
and my voice,
together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, I want to welcome you back to the Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with Sergeant Betsy Smith of the National Police Association. If you look at those commercials, that we're powered by the OBBM network, and all our commercials talk about free voice. And we're talking about you must stand up if you have a voice and you support our first responders out there. Have that voice. Do not be scared to use it. Scream at the top of your lungs, because they need their support. They need our support. We have to, because no one else will, support our men and women in blue out there protecting us and serving us every single day. Think about if you called 911 and nobody answered, or said, hey, I'll have a car there in a couple of hours, 4 or 5 hours. Well, someone's breaking into your house. We can't have that. And we're going to have that in the next couple of years, because the police forces are diminishing in personnel. We're losing experienced and veteran officers who will not be able to solve crimes. So like we see here in Iowa with those four kids who were brutally murdered, young officers are running that case. Now the FBI came in, but they're still young. They're not veteran sleuths. They're not detectives. They're still learning. it's going to have a big effect over the next couple of years.
Well, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
No, I was going to say with our last 2 minutes remaining, how can people really dive in? You want to back your blue. Besides visiting your website at nationalpolice.org, what are some specifics? Like, how do you direct them from when I'm on the website? What do I need to do?
Take a look at the articles. You know, it's a really easy to navigate website. The first thing you get when you go there is you're going to learn about the show that I have on Pluto and the First TV, the NPA report. We have great guests like Sam Horwitz, who's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks on our show. We have fantastic articles that will give you, the citizen, some information that you can use to help fight that false narrative. You can also donate to the association, and that money goes to those teams of lawyers and writers who are getting involved in very specific cases to help American law enforcement and the citizens who support us and the citizens who need us.
Absolutely. Well, Betsy, I always say it every week. This hour has flown by. We thank you so much for joining us, for enlightening our listeners, because it takes a lot of work to change a narrative. It also takes a lot of work to educate in a time where all of that is being tamped down. So thank you for what you do. Folks, nationalpolice.org. If you're listening, if you're watching, it's right there on the screen. Be an advocate for change. Remember, you're ultimately doing good for yourself as well as your own community, and bolstering our men and women who have taken that oath and who serve every day, because that's where their heart is. They wouldn't have it any other way. Any closing thoughts?
I just thank you guys so much for having me on and talking about the association, and for what the two of you do to support the men and women who are still out there doing what we all did, trying to take care of the American citizen and help keep them safe.
Thank you.
No, you are welcome, Betsy. It is our honor and how we continue to serve for sure. Thank you so much, and we will be in touch.
Have a happy New Year, Betsy.
Yeah, you guys too. Happy New Year.
Happy and safe.
Yes.
Yeah. Amen.
Absolutely. Take care. Wow, what an amazing time. You know, it is so important. We need to change the narrative for 2023. And we do it just like Betsy said, we get involved. Because if we can do it along with organizations like National Police Association, and if you don't know how, just again, visit their website, nationalpolice.org. They have the roadmap. They have the know-how on how to do it. If you want to give a donation, bam, give a donation. If you want to write some postcards to thank a cop, boom, you got that right there. And there are so many other ways. Start with educating yourself on what is needed and really what is going on out there, because you're not getting it if you're just on social media and consuming the news every day. That's for sure. Yeah.
And you know what? Once again, consuming the news for a false narrative on what our men and women in blue out there do each and every day. Turn over to a channel that supports our law enforcement, supports the families of our law enforcement. You know, these guys and these men and women are out there doing a job that nowadays nobody wants to do. And we keep changing this culture. If we go into 2023 with the same narrative that we had in 2022, we're going to have more deaths, more people are going to suffer. We're going to see more communities starting to fail and start being crime ridden. You're going to start seeing more victims of violence. Look what we got in New York City with the subway pushing and the homeless. You know, it's an effort that's going across this nation, and I don't know why. But I don't know if, you know how I'm going to speak, Sam. Our current administration is against the American free public, and everybody wants to bring in this communism, and you'll start dismantling our military, you start dismantling our police force, you start doing our FBI like they're the kings after doing everything else. So we'll have one government police force, and, who knows what's going to happen. It's scary. It's a scary time right now.
It is. It's the uncertainty that is that makes fear come to light. But you know what's not scary? You know what? The work that we've done at a Badge of Honor. I mean, yeah, we've learned a whole heck of a lot. We've also traveled around the country. We've talked to our men and women that serve every single day. We know what is keeping them from raising their hand and saying, hey, I need help. You don't have to stay there. If you watch my mental health Monday Minute today, I mean, that was from the heart. Folks, you have people like Betsy from National Police Association. Reach out. You have a badgeofhonor.com. Scroll down. You have an ability to click on a logo. Boom, get the help you need. There is no reason to suffer, because just like our t-shirts say, you are not alone. You are not alone in this struggle. Lean on the people that have gotten through the darkness. It's important because we need you more than you can imagine right now. And if you want to plug in even more, make a difference, go on to badgeofhonor.com, just hit the donate button. The money goes to the education of our first responders in the workshops that we do. You heard it in the intro of our show. That's where the money goes. We've got some exciting things coming for 2023. And if you want to continue to make a difference, walk with the men and women who serve. Walk with, if you're in service, with each other. Walkthebridge.org. Starting January, we are walking the third Sunday of every month at 3:30 p.m. You can go to walkthebridge.org, find out where the closest place is in your city to you, where you can plug in and you can see exactly what times. We also have to talk about, before you know it, look, it's going to be 70 degrees here in Texas on Thursday. Woohoo! Because we're sick of this cold stuff. It'll be springtime. And we've got our first golf tournament, March 10th in Garland, Texas. We'll be putting up more details on our website. But if you love golf, if you want to get involved and put together a team foursome, you can reach out to us through our website, badgeofhonor.com. We can give you more information on that, as well as, we're going to be making some changes here with the social. So tonight we went live on the Facebook, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. For those of you who watched last week, that episode was live on Twitter. So you're going to see some announcements being kept on our Facebook channel. But what we're going to be doing is kind of migrating over to channels where we're got allowed a little bit more freedom. So that would be LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. I know what you're thinking. YouTube. Yeah. So that is where we're going to be going. Don't worry. We'll make the announcements. And we want to just say to all of our men and women, our first responders here on the home fronts, keeping us safe, thank you. We pray for you every single day. To our veterans, thank you for your service. Thank you for putting yourselves in harm's way so that we can live free and do podcasts like this. And for folks that are in active service around the world, thank you. John, take us home.
You said it all, Sam. I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year. Hope everybody came through the holidays okay. And if you can be anything in this world, just be kind. Remember, we're all human beings. We're all just trying to make it through this spinning planet. If we are disruptive to each other, it's only going to make it hard on everybody. So let's bring in a new year, 2023, with some kindness and a heart.
See you next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.